Secrets of history, the future in their ruler. They slowly approach the ending of the world. 1928. Clearly crazy, it doesn't work. But in some strange way, these people had hit on something of the ancient mentality, something of that grasping for eternity. These air shafts go straight up to major stars, right to the outside of the pyramid. This building is locked into heaven. The floor, if you extend it out from here, 180 feet, the pyramid above is exactly half the size of the Great Pyramid in its entirety. There's a magical geometry going on here. These walls are so accurately constructed, north, south, east and west, that they're hundredths of a degree out. This sarcophagus, before the tourists got at it, was so perfect that only the most modern measuring instruments can find out discrepancies in its size. So the ancients too were interested in a sort of eternal perfection. The king had been placed in the heart of Egypt, in the heart of heaven. The Nile, after all, flows from south to north. The sun crosses it from east to west. They were grasping for eternity. They made this room as hard as a diamond and as perfect as they could, so the king and Egypt would last for all eternity.
Casi nunca los vemos, pero están acicalando al mundo.
After the Egyptians came the Greeks and Romans, who said that geometry itself had come from Egypt and made a list of 7 wonders. Then came the Christians, who shunned such pagan things. Not even the pyramids are mentioned in the Bible. To them, all real wonders were the works of God. For a while, the 7 ancient wonders seemed to disappear. But these astonishing stones in the desert endured, and pilgrims still walk through the sand to see them. So memories of the ancient wonders flickered in the West's imagination. And then the ancient lists were rediscovered, printed, published, read again, and far away in Christian Rome, the ghosts of wonder rose. So a giant statue of an emperor that had stood here beside Rome's largest amphitheatre was identified as the Colossus that had stood upon the Isle of Rhodes. And the Colosseum took its name from one of the 7 wonders of the world. Slowly, the city filled with ancient wonders. The tombs of the ancient emperors of Rome seemed like hanging gardens, and there were obelisks and pyramids, no one knew the difference now, and temples too, and giant statues. Now Rome, not Babylon, was filled with stars and zodiacs. It became a magic city, surrounded with a wall of iron enclosing 7 hills, one for each day of the creation, and one for the Creator's rest. And there were 365 squares in Rome, 365 streets, 365 palaces for the popes, and each palace had 365 steps. And each step was covered with bread enough to feed the world. It was a dream of poor people, imagining a legendary past, a past of endless wealth and wonder. Slowly, though, the ancient ghosts of wonder found a place again in humankind's imagination and ambition. And then it was that the finest images of all the 7 wonders were created. At that magic moment when scientific study had begun, yet all those ancient memories and myths were still alive. About 1520, a Dutch artist, Martin van Heemskerk, travelled down to Rome and was completely fascinated. Years later, he produced a set of drawings of the 7 wonders that brought them back to life again. Heemskerk set his 7 wonders on a stage which everybody knew and could enjoy. They were published as a set of prints
and were very popular. And still a century later, tapestry weavers were using his designs in sets of noble hangings that portrayed the 7 ancient wonders of the world.
That's perhaps the most famous of Heemskirk's 7 wonders, the great Colossus of Rhodes astride the harbour. Actually, it wasn't Heemskirk's idea, that figure. It never really stood like that, of course. What happened was that a traveller went to Rhodes, heard a local story, put a drawing of it in a geography book. And Heemskirk's pinched the drawing, which was just of this figure, but he set it in this wonderful, magical landscape, and he's telling the story of the Colossus. See, what's going on? There's an Arab raid. See those little boats going in, all the Christian galley slaves pulling away? There's the local people praying to the Colossus for help. And here's the Arab workman demolishing the great face of the statue. So he's really bringing the 7 wonders alive, you might say. This one, well, this brings it alive in a different sort of way. It tells another story. Not the destruction of one of the wonders, but actually its building. You see, there's the great temple of Artemis at Ephesus. There's the goddess suitably clothed in northern style. And there's the master masons all chipping away and making the columns. Now, this is where this one gets a bit interesting, because this column here actually fits beside the doorway. And this guy here is said by some to be King Solomon, and this is the building of Solomon's temple. See, what happened in medieval times was that the 7 wonders were pagan, were taken over by another set of wonders. So the pyramid becomes Noah's Ark, the temple of Artemis becomes the temple of Solomon. Look, there's something else very interesting in this tapestry here. These poor workers that made these things in Brussels really had to follow these grand designs, but in the borders, they were allowed to do their own thing. And these guys in their little dark workshops were thinking about the 7 wonders of the world, not the grand vision, but the little common ordinary visions. And so you get up there another of the Gothic 7 wonders, the magic bird, the phoenix, that builds its funeral pyre and is lit by the sun, and as it burns to death, it rises in resurrection. It's an image of Jesus Christ. And there's another very local wonder here too, and that's a little hot spring by the French town of Grenoble. Very wonderful to have warm water without having to heat it. Now, Heemskirk just didn't do 7 wonders, he did 8. And the 8th was his beloved Colosseum in Rome, the only one of the wonders he actually would have seen. There it is, and look what's standing in the middle. In the Middle Ages, it was thought that the Colossus of Rhodes had actually been taken to Rome and stood in the middle of the Colosseum, which was a great temple of the sun. So there's the statue standing now in the middle of a wonderful Gothic landscape with millions of people enjoying the games. You see, what Heemskirk did, he brought the 7 wonders alive and he put them back onto the stage of history.
There were other visions of the 7 wonders, visions less benign and far more frightening. And these too haunt our modern cities. Dreams that started in a Roman wood. Dreams of pain and love and death.